Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Very nice of you all. Whoops, that's not right. There we go. Always a little something. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday anime stream, the Weekly Dig, where we talk about anime and such. Welcome, Axios. Good to see you. Got a few changes in the background, as you can see. been playing around with some electronics over the week, and just thought I'd add some ambiance, if you will, to something a little different. Hey, Unagi. That's some good spiked tea right there. So how's everyone's weekend been? Hope you all had a good, reasonably productive week. I have been watching a bit more Sword Art Online, up to episode 6 now, I think. Really enjoying that, appreciating the balance on all that. COVID-free, always good. Interesting, makes the picture quality better. Oh, hey, Brad. Good to see you. Wonder why that is. But yeah, so we're so partway into Sword Art Online, which the original series. Just very impressed at how many different things doing all at once in terms of like character development, plot, comedy, drama, melodrama, all that stuff has been nice to see. Animation quality definitely shifts a little bit from scene to scene. Not too bad, but noticeably. And but that's kind of what you expect from any given anime, frankly. When he's waiting to see if anyone figures out what's behind that shoulder. But yeah, it's been I've been watching that. I've been reading some manga. Volume 4 of Re Monster, which we were talking about before the stream, has some moments in it. It has some stuff. Some adult content early on, but it kind of veers away from that later on, and has some other materials. It's an isekai. Guy's reincarnated as a goblin, as opposed to a slime and other things. Not whiskey, rum. Because this is throat coat tea, which is very spicy. So a bit of extra spiced rum in there is not bad. Hey, Gamescape. Good to see you. And those just complement each other quite nicely. So yeah, that's been that. How about you all? What have you all been watching and reading this week? He asked as he looked over to see what he wanted to cover next. Get into my recommendation corner here in a moment. And we can go into news and such. Misfit of Demon King Academy. Cool. Yeah, I've not been keeping up with the current season, which I want to do. I want to get back to it. Been hearing good things about A God of High School, that it continues its insanity. Power Fantasy of the Animation. Yeah, that's definitely what I came across that as. Which, who doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want an occasional Power Fantasy? Finished last period. That sounds very vaguely familiar. Terrible show. All right. See, this is why I don't watch shows all the way through. Wow. Yeah, this must be pretty recent because I must have seen some of it. Fantastic Beasts, Periods, Mysterious Theft Incident. Oh, is this like literally set in a like in an RPG world? I think that's what I remember it from. Yeah, I remember being like cute but not memorable. Yeah. Your season of Fire Force is strong. That's cool. That's good to hear. I had some friends bounce off of that, pretty hard. Fire Force, that is. But good to hear it's improving. Also, with your new computer, just a new display. I actually have a Raspberry Pi plugged into that screen, displaying a little bit of geek history. Really hard to make out, though, I'm sure. So folks are going to have a difficult time nailing that one down. Got a high school pretty fun so far. Good to hear. Cool. Yeah, God of High School is, for me, worth watching for the animation alone, which is the main reason I watch a lot of things, in fairness. All right, so speaking of fun anime that we like, let's cover that a little bit. So let me talk a little bit Oh, oh, things are changing. It's looking pretty weird. You know what I'm also going to try doing this time? Let's see if I can put a wall scroll right here. I have a little thing. I can replace that. Will that fit? Yeah, cool. That's a bit of an improvement. It's a bit of an odd placement, so I might end up, and it's kind of... Yeah, I'll probably put another like pin in the in up there somewhere. But I want to talk about an anime I love. If I can. Oh, there we go. One sec. Cool, cool, cool. Cool. I'm here to talk about an anime that I just love because of my love for it, and that is Gunsmith Cats. This is an anime from the 1990s based on a manga by Kenichi Sonoda. It is the story of two women in Chicago, in the United States. Yes, that's right, sort of present day. And one is a bounty hunter, and the other is sort of an assistant of hers. Let me see if I can show you a little bit of them. There we go. Minnie Mae Hopkins and Riley Vincent there. And so it's basically an action movie concept. So it's, guns, thugs, bad guys, sort of light noir, if you will. So you get kind of some of the tropes of detective fiction while having, cute girls who are in their underwear occasionally. So that kind of a thing. Very anime in that way. And what I appreciate about it is it's a story set in the United States that was very heavily researched. So nothing really looks out of place here. You don't see any weird Japanese anachronisms in here. Like the staff went over to America before making the OVA to kind of check up on things and get a feel for how things actually are. So that's really cool. It's also just a fun, light action adventure kind of a story. There's some, the climax gets relatively dark in the sense of people shooting at each other, right? It's not goofy Trigun fun in the sense of some of that combat, but it's definitely not too serious. Now, I do have to point out that Kenichi Sonoda's original manga can get a little bit uncomfortable at times. Some of the material that he delves into, I know makes me uncomfortable now and again. The anime has none of that. So it's pretty appropriate to, I would say, older teens and up, or even younger teens. Again, Rally and Minnie Mae are occasionally, walking around their apartment in their underwear, but nothing really beyond that, at least in the OVA. And of course, violence, people getting shot and such, but nothing overt, nothing gruesome in the OVA. So it's a lot of fun. Being an OVA, it's pretty short, so you can get through it and experience all of it, and pretty high budget. It has some of the most impressive car chase sequences in all of anime. They're not hugely long, but just the quality and the detail of the animation is just stunning in some of that stuff. So yeah, again, fun detective story with two kick-ass girls. Gotta love it. Yeah, I really love Gunsmith Cats. Seriously. Like, it's a good time. I think Dark Horse had the rights for the manga. They probably expired, I think, because that manga came out, 10, 15 years ago, I think, if not longer ago. It was a fairly early license, Gunsmith Cats manga. So I think, we had our day. Come on. And now it's going to be a lot harder to get those again. There we go. And things aren't falling all over the place. Huzzah. Imagine that. Yeah, same author as Writing Bean. So same creator as Writing Bean. I think only 2 episodes in the OVA, but I may be wrong about that. I would have to double check. But yes, it's very short. By anime standards, right? Hey, Spin. Good to see you. Mal shows 3. Okay, so maybe it is 3 episodes. Cool. Yeah, it's it is showcased well in AMV Hell, but there's some other sequences not in AMV Hell that are quite nice. More of the gun toting feel. 4th omnibus in 2015. Okay, so relatively recent. But yeah, I don't know if they still have the license to that. Given that was a few years ago, but who knows? But yeah, like I said, there's some creepiness in the manga, so just be aware of that. I would not be surprised, given everything going on these days, that those get pulled, because that's a thing that we'll be talking about later on. Pyronmon's back. Cool. Good to hear. Let me just pull up. Yeah, that makes sense. Let me see here. What do you guys think? Should we do the news or should we do history first? You guys want to hear about the history of anime or the news? Fair warning, the history is not very fun this week. Yeah, well, the nice thing is, under 2 hours, you'll be done with Gunsmith Cats. Like, boom. Should be done. 1 vote for the news. Love that stuff. Let me make another cup, another mug. The history will be definitely an interesting palate cleanse if we do go in that direction. I gotta figure out how to raise that up. We'll make it work. All right, because we have had 2 things. I can't actually flip a coin. We'll go ahead and I'm going to flip this little thing. It is a cardboard box for some electronics I'm working on. News, history. News. Y'all hear that? All right, 1 second. It's taking a second for my my thingy to load. And if we continue having problems, we can go ahead and just go ahead and just do the news this way. Is that working? Is that working? Yes, it is. Good. Kind of. It keeps doing the lip flaps constantly. I need to move this over here. That's probably partly why. Because it keeps having issues there. Okay. Cool. All right, let's get this done. Let's do it. Yeah. Wants to fall. I think we'll be fine. Don't fall. Hello and welcome to the latest anime news for the week ending July 25th, 2020. All our anime announcements this week feature a common thread of short, slice-of-life focused themes, which sounds like just what we need amidst the chaos of life right now. First up, Bandai Namco's toy and merchandise branch, Bandai Spirits, announced this week that a television anime is in the works featuring their capybara character, Capybara-san. That's right. The anime series will celebrate the character's 15th anniversary and is set to start airing on October 9th during a weekly children's variety block. Imagine that, given the art style. The anime will be directed at Shinei Animation and L'Esprit by Tomohiro Tsukimasato, who also directed the Gudetama anime, among others. Capybara-san was developed back in 2002 by Bandai Spirit's female team Triworks. He and his cast of cute and cuddly friends have featured since then in a long-running line of merchandise, as well as several manga adaptations. On Sunday, the Toy Tokusatsu fan club announced that the live-action Kamen Rider 01 TV series is inspiring a short net anime spin-off. Fans didn't have long to wait, as the first episode began airing for the club's subscribers on Thursday. The series title does a great job of telling us exactly what to expect from the show. It's called Kamen Rider 01 Short Anime Everyone's Daily Life. Along with the announcement, a short trailer was posted previewing the first episode, which features the artificial intelligence Is guiding protagonist Aruto around the Hidden Intelligence Building. Ooh. Kamen Rider 01 premiered last September and is the first Kamen Rider television series in Japan's current Reiwa era. So things there are a-changin'. Last up in our brief anime announcements this week, a sequel is on the way for the short-form slice-of-life comedy series based on the Strike Witches franchise. The original Strike Witches 501st Joint Fighter Wing Take-Off anime told stories from the daily adventures of the Strike Witches team in between their world-saving pantsless battles. The sequel, World Witches Take Off, will debut sometime in 2021 and feature an expanded cast of characters. The anime is based on a manga series and will feature the original cast of Strike Witches reprising their voice roles, as well as direction by Fumio Ito and animation production by Aka Efe and Giga Production. Crunchyroll streams the first Takeoff series, and it describes that plot as follows, quote, Strike Witches, the 501st Joint Fighter Wing girls, are back from battle and ready to relax as best they can. War with a deadly Noroi won't last forever, but one thing is certain, the war on laundry is eternal. Join these aerial combat cuties in a down-to-earth series highlighting the team's hijinks between missions, end quote. What could be cuter? Japanese pop culture media outlet and event promoter OtaQuest has teamed up with Anime Central to offer yet another virtual anime con. Yay! By this point, people who've been attending most of these online cons have probably been to more conventions this year than the rest of their lives combined. My goodness. OtaQuest Connect is set to take place on August 15th and 16th, just a few weeks away, and will feature the usual convention fare with exclusive interviews and panels, musical performances, and a specially curated online shop, as well as activity on both Twitch and Discord. The guest list is pretty impressive so far. Cowboy Bebop and Escaflowne composer Yoko Kanno, director and designer Shinji Aramaki, and Beastars mangaka Paru Itagaki are all set to attend, among several others. The con will also feature a concert on both nights with different musician lineups for each. Saturday's musical event will be an online version of OtaQuest recurring OtaQuest /plugged-in DJ and club events, while Sunday will feature 3 rising J-pop and rock groups. Sadly sounds like no Yoko Kanno. OtaQuest itself was founded in 2017 with the goal of connecting different aspects of the Japanese pop culture world and its iconic creators more directly with fans in the United States. The project features a website with news and monthly industry interviews, as well as participation in live events and conventions. So that should be pretty good, hopefully. Speaking of music, fans of the music from several of Sunrise's iconic anime series officially have a lot more to add to their streaming library. As of this week, a total of 549 theme songs and soundtrack tunes have been added to major streaming services. These tracks were produced and released by Flying Dog for Sunrise's anime and include music from a few series you might have heard of, like Cowboy Bebop, Vision of Escaflowne, and Code Geass, along with several others. Pretty much every major music service now has the albums available, including Apple, Amazon, and Google Music, Spotify, and several other international providers. A good thing. The tracks went up everywhere as of yesterday, just in time for anyone looking to add a little more 1, 2, 3, let's jam to their weekend activities. Now, you might remember all the way back in February when an Australian senator called for a review of anime and manga being broadcast in the country because of possible depictions of child exploitation. Well, it seems these protests are still going strong and gaining some traction as of this week. The Sydney branch of the book's Kinokuniya bookstore chain has officially removed 7 manga titles from its shelves after receiving a formal written complaint from South Australian legislator Connie Bonaros. Bonaros wrote a letter to the store expressing concerns that they were hosting, quote, child pornography material, end quote, and called for removal of the offensive books, but did not specify exact titles. Kinokuniya's vice president Keijiro Mori responded and confirmed that they had removed 7 titles from the Sydney store, including Eromanga Sensei, Sword Art Online, Goblin Slayer, and No Game, No Life. Mori also noted that Kinokuniya is in communication with the Australian Classification Board about the issue and that, quote, in terms of our action globally, wherever our stores are situated, we respect local law and culture and make ordering decisions respectively and accordingly, end quote. In Australia, media depicting underage characters has been judged the same regardless of whether it depicts live action or drawn characters, whereas in Japan, fictional depictions like manga and anime are exempt from the current child exploitation laws. And by the way, that Australian standard is pretty much the same as it is in America. Now, there's not exactly a shortage of anime-themed clothes and accessories in the world, but there's no such thing as too much anime merchandise, right? Katakawa and Kara Annie clearly think so. The two have officially teamed up as of this week to launch a new anime-themed apparel brand called Emoon, because nothing anime-related can just have a normal name anymore. That's 4 O's, by the way. The brand aims to create fashion items that are appropriate for wear in everyday life and will sell goods through Katakawa's web stores, both domestically and internationally. So far internationally, the line has released a set of Bungo Stray Dogs stoles, or scarves, each based around a different main character, and a set of ReZero backpacks, Rem, Ram, and Emilia. The Japanese web stores are also offering wristwatches based on ReZero and Overlord, but those are not listed for international sales as of yet. Probably differences in time calculations and such. Now, the Fate Extra series is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year and is bringing fans some fun throwback games to celebrate. A special collector's box set, including both Fate Extella games, is being released for the anniversary, and will include a new hands-on way to keep your own heroic servant by your side, another anime Tamagotchi. That's right, the Extellachi will let fans raise more than 30 different servants from the game, including the ever-popular Nero and Tamamo no Mae. The set will release for both PS4 and Nintendo Switch, but will come in limited numbers, so fans hoping to get their own mini-servant will have to act fast once the official release date is announced. For those who are unable to pick up their own Extellachi, there is another way to play with your own pixel heroic servant, a browser game based on the classic arcade favorite Dig Dug. Players will guide Fate characters BB through a space Fate character BB through a space-themed version of the original game, digging through levels to collect encryption keys and take control of the Moon Cell automaton. The minigame will be available on the Tight Moon Studio BB website through December, so you arcade game fans have got plenty of time to shoot for a high score. What is it with Tamagotchi in Japan? Just gotta ask. Last up this week, if we're not able to go participate in the usual summer activities this year, at least we can talk to a favorite waifu about them. Two special events are coming to the Isekai app, where fans can have conversations with a voiced live 2D version of Megumin from Konosuba. In the new events, users will talk to Megumin about classic summer activities, like going to the beach and visiting summer festivals. The events feature recorded conversations with Megumin through her voice actress Rie Takahashi, as well as new expressions and visuals, including Megumin dressed up for your imaginary beach trip in her bathing suit. The beach event is on now through August 3rd, and the festival event will follow immediately after and run through the 17th. The application is available in 50 countries, that's 50 across the world, and has an available English subtitle pack, as well as alarm functions and a clock, in case a cute Megumin in your phone who responds when you talk to her wasn't enough. The app also opens with a character selection screen, even though currently Megumin is the only option, so perhaps other isekai girls will be added in the future. Guess we'll have to wait and find out. That's all the news for this week. Thanks for watching. That's weird. Why did that reload? So the Konosuba app is free. The English pack is $6.50. And I know that because I've been playing around a little bit with stuff and experimenting a little bit. So let's see here. Hello. Hello. So I have motorcycles driving by. Hello, Megumin. So yeah, that is a thing, and you can actually interact with her. So again, by default, it comes as a in Japanese only, although it does translate the initial stuff. And then if you buy the pack, then it translates all of her dialogue into English, and it will also understand English. So by default, it doesn't, it only recognizes Japanese words. I have to buy that. So yeah, that is actually a thing, which you can buy. All right. So we did the news. We should do history. That's cool, Johnny. All right. Let's go ahead and do history. Here we go. Hello and welcome to This Week in Anime History, and it is a heavy week, sadly, but ending on a positive note. This week in anime history, July 21st, 1983 was the premiere of the Barefoot Gen film, a film about a young boy living in Hiroshima, Japan in 1945. Guess how that goes. Important because the manga was a landmark manga when it was released, and adapting it into an anime allowed for a much wider audience to see that, and it absolutely animates what it was like living through the dropping of an atomic bomb. It is a very difficult movie to watch, but an important one to watch because it is about a very important thing. So that is absolutely an important moment in anime history. Also, this week in 1989 saw the arrest of Tsutomu Miyazaki, a man who um, kidnapped several young children, and bad things happened. This was a major case, and unfortunately, it was discovered that Miyazaki owned a lot of violent media, including anime and manga, and some of that material involved, let's just say, young characters, and that led rise to a lot of media concern and, let's just say, media panic around the role of violent or exploitative imagery, not just anime, but also anime and manga, and the roles they have in society, and what could happen there, because it was a truly horrible case, and I will let you look that up if you want to know more. But this really changed a lot of the opinions that folks had about otaku, in the sense that before that, otaku were seen as well, there are a lot of opinions about it, but there wasn't a hugely negative opinion about otaku. They were seen as probably kind of leeching off society somewhat and not very productive. But this added a danger to otaku for a lot of people in Japan. So really dark times for anime fandom for a while there, because of those events. But moving on, this was also the week that saw the release of Spirited Away. So as strange a shift as that is, Spirited Away was really the big international calling card for Hayao Miyazaki. It was a film that really went pretty wide internationally. Obviously, his films up to that point had been seen a lot in East Asia, but with the backing of Disney, Spirited Away was able to be seen in a good number of theaters, and it was really where a lot of folks first came across Hayao Miyazaki, and allowed his oeuvre to become wide known and well known worldwide. So it's a really important landmark for Hayao Miyazaki and anime in general, in terms of bringing more awareness of quality anime to the rest of the world. So that is the anime history of this week. Again, rough set of news, but that's history. Not really news, rough set of things, but still history. Let's see here. Yeah, Barefoot Gen is not good. Barefoot Gen is not an easy watch. It is a painful watch. And by the way, be careful about like Google image searching Barefoot Gen, because they will sometimes throw up imagery, because some of the imagery in Barefoot Gen doesn't register as gory and horror because it's just animated. The algorithms aren't that advanced yet, so it will sometimes throw up stuff where you're like, oh my gosh, because that's the thing. So yeah, Tsutomu Miyazaki was a really tough one, a really, really bad thing for otaku, because he was a pretty sick person. All right. I think I say was. Yeah, was. He got the death penalty, and Japan doesn't normally do that. And they were like, nope, this is we're gonna make an exception in this case. If I recall correctly, yeah. So yeah, fun times. All right. All right. We've done that. I think it's time to have a talk. Let us discuss what's going on in the anime and manga world. I think we should do that. Let me see if I can make all this stuff work. Fingers crossed. It's always a little difficult, little different. Boom, boom. So if I got this correct, and I might not, I think if I click this button over here, Look at that. Yep, sure enough. That looks like the end of the world.
Oh no, it did end the world.
Shiny red button.
Press the shiny candy-like button.
No.
What was the history erase button?
Ah, there we go.
That's what it was.
To really geek out for a moment, I'm starting a new D&D campaign this week with new players.
Oh.
And I'm going to give them an artifact that's a candle that if you light and meditate on, it basically aligns itself with the current state of the world. And in future, you can speak a command word and it will rewind time back to the point at which you lit the candle. So it's a powerful magical artifact that allows you to do that. It essentially gives you a save point in the campaign. So if you accidentally all die when fighting the big bad guy, you can rewind and try again. The twist being that any powerful spellcasters in the area, when you do this, when time rewinds, they get a premonition of what happened. Because it basically filters out, magically. This event filters out magically. And so they know what you did. So if you...
Wow.
Yeah, so you can rewind time, but now they know, aha! We fought, and they were taken down by this thing. So I'm going to have twice as many of those things when we actually fight, So it gives you some options without just being a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Let's get some more NPCs to throw at the threat.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, gotta figure.
Well, when you said candle, the first thing I thought of was Hocus Pocus. Oh, boy. Zachary Banks lights the candle and calls back all the witches.
Yes,
Midler,
right, yes.
Yep.
I remember the movie, but I don't remember the scene.
Yep. That's the first thing when you said that. I'm like, that's all I can think of is Bette Midler. I'm like, here we go. Was it Kathy Najimy riding a vacuum cleaner?
That's right. That is a fun.
Sarah Jessica Parker was the blonde, right?
I think so.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
If anyone, so this is one of my favorite books.
Hocus Pocus.
October Dreams. It's not easy to find these days for various reasons. It's basically a whole bunch of Halloween-themed short stories, poems, articles, all sorts of stuff. Pretty thick. Nice. And
H.P. Lovecraft.
Yeah. Is there any Lovecraft in here? I don't think so.
August Derleth.
Because it's all about Halloween. Like, it's not just horror. It is specifically Halloween-themed. And there's a great article in here on Halloween-themed movies. And basically saying, here are a whole bunch of, if you want to sit down and do, a movie marathon at your house around Halloween, here's a whole bunch of suggestions, and does a great job of going through, Hocus Pocus and a bunch of others. It's a. I love it when somebody puts together a list and it's not just this movie is good. It's, this movie fits Halloween for this reason, and it's, scary or terrific or it's whatever, He actually gives this fairly, there it is. I just found it. See here. He talks about idle hands. See here. He writes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs about Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh. Really?
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised there's that much to say about Ernest Scared Stupid.
That's what I was thinking.
Because he basically says, Ernest Scared Stupid, well, he says, Ernest Scared Stupid...
Saturday the 14th only gets one paragraph. That's terrible.
It never purports to be anything more than a silly, goofy, no-brainer live-action Halloween cartoon for kids. If you watch this movie with that in mind, you'll find, as I did when my then 5-year-old nephew asked me to watch it with him on video, yourself laughing almost constantly as Ernest, good-natured, sweet, doesn't have the brains God gave an ice cube. Ernest tries everything he can think of to trick the demon back into its tomb. And it just kind of goes on to talk about how it's a really fun, if you're looking for like a Halloween movie for kids, perfect. Like, it's exactly that. And, there's some, the effects are actually, kid-friendly gruesome, right? Like the demon is legitimately like creepy and scary.
Right.
But yeah, so it's
Goosebumps kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Exactly that. So
R.L. Stein scary.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Are You Afraid of the Dark? Scary.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Which spent some time this past week looking up the history of Nickelodeon live action shows, and that's some interesting stuff. All that, all those things.
Double Dare.
Double Dare. Yep.
Legends of the Forbidden Temple.
Mm-hmm. Oh, poor Mark Summers. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, he did great going to Unwrapped. I mean, that worked for him there for a while on the Food Network. So
Right.
Yeah.
he had a second life.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I just mean his OCD.
Oh, with Double Dare.
Oh yeah. Oh, he had severe like OCD around, especially around like things getting on him.
Gack
and
by example.
and he
Everywhere.
hosted that show.
Wow.
And you never know it, but he just sucked it up. Good on him. There's a great interview with him some years later where they come in to interview him, and he does some stuff like in his living room, and he walks out, and the crew then like moves the carpet slightly, and like shifts a vase over a little bit on there, on a table, and he walks in and he goes, "Oh, I can tell, like I see this, you got me." And he comes in and he sits down and he goes, I legitimately have that in the back of my mind. Like the fact that those things are slightly
Have
askew
moved.
just is running there. And I can handle it. Like I'm not upset, but that's what this is like. It's running in my mind. It's like, oh, no fun.
Was it from
Down you go.
Soul Eater? Death?
Kid Death or Death?
Kid Death, the character Kid
Kid
Death?
Death?
Yeah. No, Kid Death. Everything has to be symmetric.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
That's why he has the two guns and the two girls.
Yeah, so you go to two girls, and
Yep.
he's very powerful, but he always gets hung up on that. It's not perfect. It's not the same. It's not perfect.
Well, isn't that the old legend about? Didn't we bring this up a couple weeks ago about vampires? That if you're being chased by a vampire, you throw rice at them
Yes,
because
That's the thing.
vampires are notoriously OCD and they will
because they
stop
count.
and
Right.
count
Count.
Yeah.
all the
Every
grains of
single-
rice.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember that though. So
Yeah.
Kid Death is a perfect example of that kind of thing where it's like that would be the great way to defeat him. Just throw a handful of rice at him and be like, and the pile of rice is not symmetrical. What are you gonna do? Huh? Come at me, big boy.
I need to watch that show. Gosh.
Soul Eater?
Yeah.
I
It's
tried.
interesting.
I tried.
I will. I'm watching it purely for the ridiculous shonen animation, right? Like just the fight scenes.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
all I care
Yeah,
about.
the animation. Yeah,
You will get.
It's
You will certainly get
mind
spades.
blowing.
they get that.
Yeah.
At least the sun doesn't scream.
Yeah. I
Rick-
I have a friend at work who always is goading me to watch that. He's like, "You got to see Excalibur." Fools! I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yep.
You will if you watch it. I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let me add that to the giant list.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, I've got so much manga to get through. Speaking of the list. All right. Let's talk about stuff. It's been a kind of a not a huge week for news, but definitely some things we want to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about Sunrise and all of their music streaming everywhere in the world on all of the services. This is pretty cool, that the fact that there's, and it's not obviously every Sunrise track from every Sunrise anime ever, but I think that Cowboy Bebop, Escaflowne, a handful of others now available on, Amazon Music and Google Play and Apple Music. I'm actually kind of surprised that we no longer seem to be living in the era of exclusive streaming service, contracts anymore, where it's on this platform but none of the others.
Well, I
It's,
know. Just recently, I bought. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't the Your Contradiction by was it KSUKE Kusuke?
Mhm.
I think from God of High School.
Mm,
I found that on iTunes Japan, but there was something else I bought
mm,
that was readily available. Like the artist was entirely available, Japanese artist, entirely available on US iTunes.
mm,
And it just kind of was like, well, that's different because usually, like, it took a year or better for it to sort of filter down.
Yeah.
And it's like, so this was, and I don't think it was Isoken. It might have been Myth and Royd, from the Heroes Overly Powered and Overly Cautious, or is Overpowered and Overcautious. That I think was available on iTunes USA. It's like, that's really, I mean, that was just last season. I mean, that was really quick.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, this, that's good. It's a good sign. You're recognizing the international market. Hooray! Thank you.
I know. I'm actually really liking this, loving this, because on Spotify, which I've been using, for quite a while now, there's so many things that I could not. I put together a playlist. There are things that I just could not put together because it just wouldn't let me. Either it was a right issue or something like that. Like, for example, you can find up until just now, Tank. We were talking about Tank earlier. Yoko Kanno's Tank, and you could find it on there. But if you were trying to make a playlist, it wouldn't let you draw from it. And now I'm like reading down the list of the Cowboy Bebop stuff on there, and I'm really happy about this because I'm really tired of spending like $40 on the CD, like I did with OST1. Then, like 2 weeks later after the con, go to like Goodwill because I want to get a lamp, and I see it, the actual Japanese marketing in the cellophane, the whole 9 yards, for $2, and it eBay's for like like $50, $60 in that condition, and it's just easier. And while I like doing Amazon and gang stuff, like that's how I got the Yoko Kanno soundtrack to the Sidney Sheldon radio play they did. And something midnight, I forget what that was, but now I think they're releasing that as well. And it's
The Rooster Crows at Midnight.
Actually there's a Santa Claus song in there, and there's and there's not Holly Jolly Santa.
It's the Holly Jolly Christmas.
It's kind of dark actually. But it has one of my favorite piano expositions of hers, and I wish I could say it, but I think it's called Said, and I'm horribly mangling this, so if there's any Japanese speakers out there, I apologize. Shandao Noku no Knife.
Okay.
And the album cover is, I think it's a P-38 going. It's a drawing, a P-38 going right across the water.
Huh. Interesting.
It's a really actually a beautiful album cover.
But
anyway,
for a second, I thought you were going to say Shonen Knife. I'm like, that's a different band.
Who are
That's
awesome.
a different band.
Who are awesome.
Yeah.
What was it? Turtle Pot Cleaner song, minute 46. Gotta listen to it. That's a really good song of theirs, Shonen Knife. But anyway, it's really nice to have these choices now, and just have them available everywhere, and just being able to, while I do like having things, sometimes it's just nice to be able to go on Spotify, just go, here it is.
Well,
just play it.
Well, and it's so hard on this side of the Pacific to know when you're getting a legit soundtrack and when you're getting a pirated one, because it is trivial to duplicate any of those. And I know there's soundtracks I bought for $15-$20 over here that was the exact Japanese ones, and I came home and I was like, it's identical. It is absolutely identical, but knowing the price differential, I'm like, okay, this came from China,
Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah, my Clannad soundtrack was enough that I knew it was legit, and then sort of same thing. It's like you see the same thing, and it's like a third the price. You're like, oh, well, I supported the industry, right?
Exactly.
I supported everything. I'm like, oh god, that hurt.
Yeah, and it is so hard to find. It's been so hard to find this stuff that it's just been. It's nice that it's there.
What I find interesting about all this is that I'm trying to. One of the reasons why I want to take a closer look at the particularly the Cowboy Bebop stuff is that most of that is on moratorium in terms of actual creation of CDs and records and things like
Oh.
that. So some of that stuff you won't be able to find anyway. So it might only be
Interesting.
on streaming.
Gotcha.
So, but I don't know which ones. I don't know which ones of those on there. It might not be, but that's something to look at, which is even better for people who are real music lovers who like enjoy this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like like getting old Larkin Cell stuff. Like if you're a fan of that, of their really old stuff, it's really hard to find because almost all of it's on moratorium. And maybe this might bring it back and bring it in. Some of those songs in.
Why is it on moratorium?
It can be for any reason. Press now it will probably be on moratorium simply just because changing technologies, going from CD digital to streaming to whatever it will be the next thing. But usually when they do a press of like records, the same thing with vinyl. After a certain point, they either want to create demand for an older product to help sell the newer product that's coming in. So it kind of it's a price driver, sort of. And then some stuff is just so rare, and that the printing was so limited that, like, particularly for vinyl, that the actual press is broken or lost or destroyed or things like that. Some of these people watching might be too young for Boston, but when they were doing, Boston has a particular sound to their guitars. It almost sounds like violins. Well, they did. No. Got me.
A lot of folks will assume, yeah.
Got me. But their guitars sound like violins, and there's a specific electronic way that they did that in the studio. Well, to be able to reproduce that sound, they put it at the time on tape, and there was a special magnetic, for want of a better word, goo that they put onto the tape to keep the tape preserved. But that was the only thing they had. So when they went back, when Boston started making new albums again, they had to go back and find the old technology, put it all together. So it's just easier just to put on moratorium, say forget about it, and hopefully have a digital archive of it. Something like, for example, OST1, actually, Cowboy Bebop OST1 was on moratorium for about 5 years, and then they started repressing this.
Interesting. Yeah, I know Astro Boy had that problem because they sent the masters of the anime to NBC for dubbing, and then by the time NBC sent it back, Mushi Productions went out of business. So it got shipped back to NBC. And NBC says, we don't own this, we can't keep it, so they burned it.
My heart.
I know, it's really painful.
We're having a successor in right. You know what I mean? It's like you have somebody who's an agent for service.
Yeah, no.
Where the hell was that person?
Talk to Osamu Tezuka. He was not a business person. He was not paying attention to this stuff. So there are episodes of Astro Boy that only have an English dub, because that's the only copy that still exists of that episode. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's kind of crazy. And NBC said, we literally cannot keep this. It's not ours. And of course this is back in the day of the cell dip and all that stuff, back in the the animation days of just, you just destroy it when you're done. Yeah, it's
both of us are just like, no, it hurts.
And I mean, you can appreciate a lot of that, when it comes to film history, to animation history, to architectural history. You know what I mean? Up until reasonably recently, probably within the last 80 to 100 years, only about that point do people say, some things are actually worth kind of keeping around. Most of the time, they just bulldoze things. It's like, there's a bunch of these old wooden cabins that are here at Valley Forge. Nobody's used them for 150 years. Just bulldoze them, and we'll just, make it a field. Be like, no.
Should we not?
Yeah, did we just throw an option to not do that?
Yes, exactly.
And the funny thing for NBC is, if you don't own the content and you're thinking we need to, keep space in our archives for the things that we're, natively making, why in the hell would you not have contacted the consulate in LA? Be like, hi.
Well,
we've got all this stuff. This company went out of business. It's your guys' company, your country's company. Here you go. Deal with this.
Apparently, they went through all the channels and nobody wanted it.
That is ridiculous. Oh my god. Somebody needed to be slapped. That's just ridiculous.
Brent,
yeah, and man, exactly, Doctor Who.
We need the candle. We need to go back.
Yes.
We need to light a candle.
Exactly.
Go back.
Rewind history.
And save it. And save it.
And actually, I want to.
Didn't Doctor Who? Didn't they retape?
Over
existing media to save money. So they were like, they ran the episode, taped it out, and they were like, okay, good. Now let's rewind it and tape over again. So now we're being very cost efficient.
Yep, exactly. Well, and that's the thing is that it's not really until maybe the 90s that you have the idea of television as anything other than a transient medium. You know, nobody assumed you would rewatch episodes of G.I. Joe, the cartoon from the 1980s. That was going to run and then go away forever. Which is kind of great.
That's the VHSs in the 70s were about the size of my bedroom here. They're huge monsters, and even the ones that were commercial, those guys were like thousands of dollars.
Yeah,
and so nobody thought about doing that. That was back when video rentals was mail order. It's kind of just odd, and
we're not talking about those kind of videos, man. Wrong PO box in New York City.
but no, there's truth to that because there was no box sets of Miami Vice in the 80s. There was no box sets. Nobody had that, so why would you keep that? And it would just be amazing to figure out why some of these shows actually kept their stuff. Now, some of them, the really popular ones, obviously it's understandable why they would keep it. And in early television, they would do the kinetoscope thing if they didn't have tapes, which was just put the camera in front of a TV and air it. But it's just all about the physical stuff and just wanting and having it. Wasn't there a just recently, like 2 or 3 years ago, out west, there was a it had movies, original prints, original recordings of it was a big warehouse fire, and a lot of it burned, and it had stuff like Nirvana's original, the original and things like that.
I'm hearing something about
that. Wow, and it just burned, and nobody knew that this warehouse existed. For good reason, obviously, but it just burned down, and so much all that stuff is lost. It's just like the Kanto earthquake, and the Japanese films. Like I was watching something about samurai movies, and they're showing black and whites from with the original ones, like the first ones, and on film that was, of course, flammable because why not put everyone in a room with a flammable
silver nitrate stock.
Yep. And but you just don't find that stuff anymore. It's just so frustrating just not being able to have it. Hence why this is such a great thing that Sunrise is doing.
Absolutely. And actually, I want to thank you, Steve, for pointing me to Townsend's the YouTube channel.
Oh yeah,
because I came across a video of theirs this past week as I've been watching them obsessively, talking about ink.
It's hard not.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
And the fact that the best India inks of the time literally burned the paper. Like it literally etched the paper. So it would be permanent.
Was caustic?
It was
wow.
Which is fine, and it sticks, and you go out in the rain and your letter still arrives and people can still read it. And then 200 years pass and you can read both sides of the paper from either side. Because it's etched through both ways.
Both ways.
Oh.
And so it's literally eating away the paper. It's printed on. And so archivists are like, crud, what do we do? Like this,
Lock it in a nitrogen sealed case.
Yep.
Actually, this is where I put in my weekly plug for libraries. What libraries do is they take stuff like that and they actually do the digital photography of it, so that there is a record of all that good stuff.
So it survives in some form.
Yep.
Yeah.
There are folks now doing 3D scans of archaeological
Yep.
sites for that reason, because they're like, we need to document what this looks like right now in case an earthquake, something happens and destroys all of it. So we at least have a digital record.
Yeah.
Well, that's like all the archaeological discoveries right before World War II
Yeah.
that were in various museums across everywhere, and it's like, boy, wouldn't it have been great if y'all had like at least comprehensively photographed them, because they're all gone. It's like things that are missing are probably in people's private collections somewhere, or not at all.
My favorite scene from Remains of the Day, which is a movie set in an English countryside house in the years leading up to World War II, looking at how the relationship between the staff and the Lord of the House and all that was sort of shifting. And it's based on a real guy who tried to, who believed that World War II could be averted by just talking with the Nazis. This is a common belief at the time. So there's a scene where he's invited several high-ranking Nazi officers to his house to have dinner and talk through things. And
the Neville Chamberlain approach.
Yes, exactly. And he leaves them in a room that's full of all this, a waiting room, and they look at all this art, and one of them goes up to this one painting and goes, that's lovely. Note that for later.
Wait, that's not creepy.
Yeah.
And then they go in. It's like that's the problem. So much stuff disappeared. Speaking of things,
go through the Louvre as a shopping experience versus a cultural experience.
Yeah.
I'll take one of those and one of those and two of those. You bastards.
So speaking of things disappearing, let's talk about Kinokuniya in Australia. And the fact that they have had to comply with a request from local. Actually, I'm not sure what her role is. I should look that up.
She is. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
She's a congresswoman. She's part of the committee that oversees what the definitions are of what is harmful.
Mm-hmm.
They've got about 3 tiers of this, and just recently there's been an argument about getting the types of descriptors, getting it instead of vague, narrowed down to what is it that you don't like, that you don't want to have here in Australia.
And there's a reason for that, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, and she wrote a letter to the vice president of the company, which apparently is a bookseller that goes back to 1927.
Oh yeah, they've been around for a long time.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time, and they have these, and their stores are huge. So think like Borders times 10, or Barnes and Noble's times 10.
Is that like the thing that we saw, Brent, at Otakon? That one bookstore stall?
I was certainly at.
Is that the same company?
I think it was. Yes, I think Kinokuniya had a stall.
Okay.
They have a giant bookstore in New York City, to give you an idea of how big they are.
Yes, because that's what you said when we went through that stall.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay. Yeah. Okay, I gotcha.
What they're doing is kind of twofold. The letter that she wrote was that she goes, "Thank you for pulling these titles," and mentioned the 7 titles, and she goes, "And what else are you doing across the world, because you are international, so are you pulling them off, and this is your chance to pull these things off as well?" So they're not just aiming for Australia, they're trying to get other people in.
Interesting.
Act. So you might actually start seeing that. Here's the scary part. Because our current it's very hard for me not to drop F-bombs right about now. Our current administration is more closely in line with the administration in Australia right now than it has been in the past. And so what she has done is that she has basically said, "Thank you for doing this, but our friends around the world will not want to have those books either. So just be wary of how that is going to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start seeing that, in maybe not with this bookseller, but with other booksellers online or whatever. And she's pulling out
It's a nice veiled threat.
It is, and it just obviously it ticked me off. But she is. When they were having the conversation, it was the thing that I was listening to while you were doing the news, Brent. And they were having this argument between the people on the council to determine it's a censorship council is basically what it is. And they're saying, well, what is it? And she refused basically to narrow the terms, so it makes it easy censorship more easy for them in Australia. And what they chose is they thought they chose titles that everyone could go, oh yeah, see, because in this one, and so they're all like that. That's where they're heading. And it's very dangerous, because at that point you stop looking at it. What they're doing now as a business is saying, fine, we're going to make you happy, pat you on the head, we'll pull these titles because you asked us to nicely. So we're going to do it. So they're going to keep pressing. You're talking about Neville Chamberlain earlier. This is what this is. They're going to keep plugging at it until you don't know what it is that they think is so offensive, until the point where it is, well, now we have purely Australian. So in other words, I think it's part of just kind of a way of just keeping foreign things out. And that could be me being a conspiracy theorist, but given how Australia has been the past 5 to 8 years, that's kind of what it's looking like to me. But it's not good.
Yeah,
not good.
Do we know if they pulled the titles from shelves or from sale? That wasn't clear in the article.
That was part of her letter, actually. So they pulled it from shelves in Australia. He did not. The vice president did not say if he had pulled it from online sales. My guess is that they would say no, they did not pull it from online sales, simply because that would be an easy toggle switch to go, no, turn it off and back on. Want to do that. Well, so I think it's more like, I think the way they're looking at it is that it's more along the lines of, well, here's the physical thing, because that's really how they're looking at it, is here's the physical manga.
Well, but what I'm wondering is, like, if I walked into that bookstore and asked for Eromanga Sensei Volume 1, do they have it behind the counter? Just not on shelves.
They're not selling it.
Okay, gotcha.
They're not selling
it.
Yeah,
I would imagine if you've gone to that degree, it's not going to be behind the counter.
They don't want it sold. They don't want it sold, period.
Because that's what happened in Japan, is that they basically, the whole rigmarole was that it was going behind the counter, but still for sale, and all that.
No, they want it off the shelf, off the sale, on everything.
Well, and one of the problems behind this, some of the context of this is, and I'm going to get the dates wrong on here, but I believe, this is going to totally change my settings for YouTube for content for this video.
It's past 10.
Well, yeah.
Brent After Dark is in full effect.
Adult material involving underage characters was not illegal in Japan until like a few years ago. Like 5-10 years ago. And the reason was they had indecency laws. And it fell under indecency law. And there was no need to further define that. That was clearly indecent material, and so it got prosecuted under the indecency laws. But what happened was international human rights organizations started putting together lists of which countries in which children are safest. And what are the laws in all the countries around, children and so forth. And the way they determined that was by looking at what laws were explicitly on the books around these things. And because Japan did not have a law specifically outlawing that thing by name, there was a huge thing about Japan being, essentially a very unsafe country for children because that didn't show up as a flag. So Japan literally changed its laws so that they wouldn't have this bad reputation internationally.
Yeah, it's all about context, and that's why I think you see what was it that you and I were talking about, JJ? The no game, no life.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you point it has anything inappropriate? Well, I think you were saying that too.
And brother and sister who are very close, it doesn't revolve around them doing anything.
I think it falls on a category of like, for them it's all about context. So if you show the girl as adultish, adultish, even though she's 12, then for them they'll say, "Oh, there you go, something's going on here. Something's
that means
gonna
card
happen."
captor Sakura is going down.
In fairness,
really.
In fairness, Cardcaptor Sakura has the most inappropriate number of inappropriate relationships, like, in all of anime and manga. They don't go anywhere with any of them, but that is, preteens in love with teenagers, in love with adults, all over the place. Like, I'm impressed at how chaste Clamp keeps that storyline.
But that easily could fall under the gun.
Absolutely.
You don't know.
And they want to keep what this congresswoman or whatever they're called over there
MP
wants is
member of parliament.
Member of parliament. She wants it to keep it. That was part of the argument, was that she's not. That's why she wants to keep it vague. So it's context. It's, even though we know that no game, no life, no game is nothing like what they say it would be. It's about what are you able to sell, as saying, well, she kind of looks a little bit older than her age, so it's clearly something's going on, and it just kind of makes you want to, like, almost, even though it would really kind of be sabotaging yourself, though, you almost want to show her a copy of, like, Loveless and go, this is. I think this is what you're talking about.
Well, that's the thing.
Not that.
Is it? If you wanted examples of inappropriate anime and manga, we can find that for you.
Oh yeah, there's plenty.
That's not hard. But then again, that would show, like, okay, here's where you're legitimate. Here's where your concerns are legitimate. And here's where you can start to draw the line, where you can say, okay, this is why we think this is inappropriate.
Yeah.
And why, specifically why this is. A 12-year-old boy should not be with a 23-year-old man. I mean, it's just, that's okay to be upset about that, but it's not okay to create a rule.
And it's one of these things. Well, it's one of these things where you have there's full-on, absolute, unconditional legitimacy in preventing any sort of child-related anything that's going to bring horror to children. 100%. There's also, to the side of that, not detracting from, not an excuse to, but a parallel channel, is politicians love hot button topics. And they love anything that helps them, and I don't care whether you're a member of parliament, a member of Congress, or whoever, they love to have a cause celeb. Because then they are doing something, out there.
They're doing something.
Them. Exactly. And they can go back to the constituents and say, look what I have done. I've been out there this whole time on television. I've talked about all this stuff, and I've made that difference out there in the world. And when you elect somebody in the next election, it's going to be me, right?
Yep.
But that, you're right. You're so right. I mean, I'm just remembering Ice-T's album back in the day was actually a hardcore punk album. And
not NWA.
Not NWA. Not Ice-T. It was Ice. Yeah, no, it's Ice.
Ice Cube.
Not Ice Cube. It's Ice-T.
Ice-T.
And he did a song. I think it was called "Cop Killer."
Right.
And Typical Word.
Okay,
Typical Word seized on that and just ran on the whole thing, and that's why you had the
explicit lyrics, whatever.
which
Yeah.
turned actually into album covers. I thought that was ironic, but
Yeah.
yeah, you got a
Very
point.
interesting.
It is, yeah, politics.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on it. It'll be interesting, especially as America's views on that more closely match the Australian views on that as opposed to the Japanese views on that.
Yeah.
So seeing if that has any effect. And, we have had one American and one Canadian guy get arrested for importing manga that was inappropriate, shall we say. So, it can happen. And, that was inappropriate manga, but still,
Yeah.
Right.
Which, I mean, and again, importing, there are, with so many manga reading services, which obviously have come under a lot of scrutiny lately, and,
Sure.
they're trying to get more legal channels for that. You know what I mean? It's the whack-a-mole game where, you get one group that's illegal and they decide to go legal and they decide to do licensing and 30 more pop up because we live in the internet age. So
There's
you
always
can
gonna be a
physically,
Mango Fox.
I mean, you can cut off the physicality of these things, but, the rise of digital reading anyway makes, some degree, the idea of physically going and buying that manga really old school.
Yeah. Well,
So, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, we'll pull this off our shelves, but if it's available through a completely legit digital streaming, it's
or
a no-sum
non-legit.
game.
Yeah.
Right.
I
mean,
I've heard arguments of saying that people get caught on those things specifically because, really? Like, of course we're going to arrest you on this, because why are you even bothering? Like this is clear. Like just why are you doing this? Just go online, dude. Come on. Yeah. It's odd. Speaking of merchandise, let's move on to a slightly happier topic. Anime apparel, more anime stuff to buy.
woo! Yeah, look, I need more.
Hey, there we go.
Stuff. It's past 10. We're cool, right?
An occasional is fine. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna drop F-bombs. Thanks, Steve. Well, just how are they going to differentiate themselves from, let's see, the 60 billion Japanese purveyor of merch, the 300 trillion Chinese purveyors of merch? How's E-Moon gonna do this?
I think you mean E-Moon.
Well, do you see my joke about they sell leather goods and it's E-Moon?
Yeah, hey, I like it.
That's a cow joke.
I like it a lot.
Right
they're going to differentiate because they're going to offer scarves.
yeah.
All right.
Which I did see the picture, and it was a scarf.
Yeah, it's
the whole idea of a stole trying to threw me totally.
Very weird.
A muffler. It would have worked as a muffler.
True.
Still the character tag on the end.
Yeah. Well, I think here's the thing. These are premium goods, so I think that's going to be different. The
So merino wool for the scarves.
those scarves are $100 each.
What?
Yeah. The backpacks are
What's the denier
$131
on that?
roughly.
Jesus.
I thought about the REM backpack until I heard that. Crap.
Also, they are available in 79 countries and regions. Through web stores and such, and this is why we had that news story. I think a month or two ago, the Kadokawa was opening that online store, and there was nothing there. Clearly, this is part of a big push. I think the idea is, look, yes, you can go to a convention and buy that Naruto headband for $10. This is legit branded merchandise that if you're getting it, it is the real deal. You know that this is actually going back to quote unquote support the industry in Japan, although the whole merchandising thing is murky.
They're going NFL.
Right, exactly. It's that whole
Well,
problem.
but I mean, here's the obvious funny part is Toei, decides to come out with a series of tote bags. We'll just keep it alliterative. Yeah. Toei's tote bags. You're buying it from Toei, so you feel like you're buying something that's supporting Toei. But what you're buying is a tote bag made in China.
Right.
So rather than cutting out the middleman and buying it directly from China, You're buying it from Toei, who's buying it from China. So,
and granted, some of that money will go to Toei. I mean, there's
but it's just still, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's like Toei could just license this out to some manufacturer in China and then walk away and be like, yeah, just cut us a check when you're done at the end of the month, however much you sold. But instead, Toei's got their, site set up in between, to be like, okay, now the Chinese manufacturer is running the Toei site to sell the Chinese manufactured goods that they are licensed from Toei to pay Toei.
It's fascinating to me. I'm I kind of wish we live in a world where everyone just be honest about all this, and you could just go on Alibaba, exactly, and just buy the stuff from the manufacturer, and some percentage of that cut goes back to the whatever company they license it from. The problem there is, of course, differentiating between the ones who licensed it and the ones who licensed it. But yeah, it is amazing how
the Goosey bags and the Rolex watches. Yeah.
So yeah, it's fascinating. But I mean, they've got, the thing is, they can be pre-ordered until August 5th while stocks last, and will ship in October and November respectively. So these definitely sound like they're pretty high-end merch.
So a high thread count, high denier count. All that good stuff.
Until someone posts a review about it, I wouldn't even guarantee that. You know what I mean? What I would guarantee is like, okay, we're going to place a manufacturing order. Your minimum on your end is we have to have 1,000 units. So we're going to order 1,000 units. And if they sell, we'll talk again. If they don't sell, this has been a limited run. We've charged $130 and it's done.
Absolutely.
So we will see. Remains to be seen.
Well, what interests me about this is that some years ago I was at an anime store in Seattle. It was one of these little independent, mom and pop, essentially, anime stores. And I was the only one in there. No surprise. It was in a mall. And it was fairly small, but it had like t-shirts, general merch, a few model kits, stuff like that. And I got to talking to the woman working there who happened to own the store. And I asked her basically, how's business? And, how do you decide what to carry? Because I was flipping through her manga and I noticed that all of the manga was, whatever it was at the time, hugely popular titles at the time. And I said, yeah, I'd like to buy some of this manga from you, but like, I already own whatever this is if I want to get it. And she shook her head and said, here's the thing. Otaku will come in here and they will talk to me about that amazing new Evangelion figurine that's like $100. And I'll order one and I'll bring it in and they'll come in and they'll ooh and ah over it and then they'll buy a keychain.
Right.
And you go to cons. How many little Funko Pop dolls do you? How many little $5 things do you see? There may be some more expensive merchandise, but it's usually sitting up there, for people to ooh and ah over.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if anime hasn't kind of gotten stuck, at least in Japan, anime merchandise in this state where nobody's willing to put out nicer merchandise because the average fan doesn't buy it.
Yeah.
Well, it does hurt a little bit when I buy like a Nendoroid and it's like $54.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's a lot of money for a little hunk of plastic. Like, damn it. And then you start getting up like the Figma figures, and then you start getting up to like the static figures that it just gets exponentially more expensive. And it's like, I've seen plenty of those at cons where you see it on that top shelf where you can't get to it. And it's like $150, $175 for a static figure. And you look at it and go, whoa, okay, I'll take the rubber keychain thingy for like $6.
Yep.
Naruto and whatever that chibi dog thing is, I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll take one of those.
After
I'll take that.
The 6 foot tall Gundam made model in the plexiglass, and everyone just kind of goes,
They,
Voltron
they,
was.
they had a like
Yeah.
8-foot Voltron at I
Yes.
think it was Otakon a couple years ago. That was
Yes.
Like a disassemblable, assemblable
no,
Voltron, or just
like one giant statue.
And you saw a whole bunch of people.
this is like
Seeing people walking by going,
Exactly. Yeah.
the big sign says "Don't touch" because there's fingerprints all over. Like, what are you doing?
right.
I'm gonna guess that's like the REM figure, where it was like
Yeah.
40 grand worth of like figure. But like,
Yeah,
wow.
it was not for sale. It was clearly like somebody built this as a,
Oh no, it's for sale.
Well, that's
it
true.
just
That
depends on how
depends.
much money you've got.
Very good point. Very good point.
Well, it's not for sale. $100,000. You want me to? You want a bag with that? Here, take everything I have.
Remember that sword guy at Otakon, and they would bring out the giant sword, like bring
That's
it
your
out
friend, Brent,
bring
isn't
it
it?
out of the sheath. Like that was probably, that's probably what you're talking about right there. They take them 5 minutes, and we're all just like, "Oh my god, it's so great!" The plastic throwing star thing over there. Yeah, that's what I can buy. That's what I can buy.
Well, that's what we had at and Brent, in the back corner of Star City, the guy who brought his real swords, and then he also had a bunch of like prepackaged Chinese made, like Kirito's sword, Asana's sword, Gintama's sword, like all different prepackaged sort of stuff.
Right.
But he also had swords that he made, and some of the little Tontos and stuff, they were handmade prices.
Yep.
Pretty, and he had one beautiful cherry rosewood handled, just beautiful katana. And I saw that, I asked, and he said, "That's handmade." And I said, "Oh," and he said, "I'm not taking it down." Before you even asked the question, that took me 350 or 500 hours or a million hours. Yeah. It's $20,000, and I'm like, I gotcha.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna go over there and buy that REM pillow for $20. Good luck on those sword sales.
Well, here's where the sword sales go. This is where and Brent, I think you've seen these guys, Man at Arms, at Anamore. We worked with them at Chesapeake Shakespeare Company. And one of their guys used to do our fight choreographies for some of the Shakespeare plays. But we also bought weapons from them. And there is, of course,
So you are weapons dealers.
Arms dealers. And there is, of course, the crappy China stuff and the stuff that they make as props and things like that. And they are supposed to be what they are. But when you're talking about the actual weapons, they're real deal. We had an armory.
Oh, wow.
At the theater. And these are real swords. These are real things. These are real, they're like you pick. It's not like when you go to the convention, you pick up a katana and you're going like this. You pick up a real katana. It's like, okay. It's actual heft and weight to it. So they actually sell those things as props to theaters, to entertainment and stuff like that, and they also do. They also actually do consignment. People who ask for it, like they'll ask for a specific type of sword, to make and things like that, and they'll actually go through the blacksmithing process and go through all that, and so some of that stuff is really real. We did. Was it Henry V Part 1, and there's a scene in there where there's it's a spear going up against a small shield and a sword, and the two blades actually hit. Yes, yeah, yep. And the blades hit and they sparked.
Wow.
And that told us two things. First of all, that the blades are real, they have heft, and that's not something that prop blades do.
Right.
And the second thing was that one of the two guys that were doing it on stage screwed up, because that's never supposed to happen. They go through a whole, like, before every performance, by law or by union, they have to go through the fight sequence before each pitch performance, so they know what they're doing. But that's where they make their money. Those things are definitely not cheap.
Blades on commission.
Blades on commission, commission.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and that friend of mine
took it over. I'm like consignment.
Commission,
yeah,
What's that word starts with?
the only reason. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's there is a definite market and actual use for them, and quite frankly, I think some of the people at the Narutos at the convention could probably not have them.
Hey, look what I bought! Oh, God,
no, please.
It was all fun until somebody lost a hand.
Yeah. And the reason my friend got into it is that he started fabricating stuff for his own cosplay, and folks started coming up and saying, "That's awesome, can I have one?" And he said, "It took me insane amount of hours. I'd have to charge like, $1,000." And they said, "Okay."
Good crowd.
And he's like, "Alrighty then," and he just kept, going from that, he just kept getting. Now, not everyone would do that, obviously. But he said, every convention I go to, I will find people will come up to me, and that is a reasonable amount for them, whatever that price tag is.
Yeah. They probably know what they're getting, and they know what they're looking for, and
exactly.
And
And that's the thing, is that he does perfect stuff. So,
that or they're like YouTube billionaires like Brent, and they just throw money around. They're just making it rain.
Oh yeah.
All those subscriptions, all those likes. Woo, that's just rolling it. No.
Oh man. Yeah, I should show you my stats.
It's good to be the king.
Yeah. One of my recent videos got 200 views. It was amazing. It was fantastic.
Woo, yeah. Not as much as Happy Cat has an app, but
yeah,
it's still pretty damn fine.
Right. I'm struggling to put out quality content, and that happens. Speaking of quality content and speaking of cute things, let's talk about Megumin.
Oh hell yeah!
Because you can now download Megumin onto your phone. You've been able to do this for a while, actually. But there's an app that puts...
That specific app has been available, or
it has.
other apps?
This app for a couple of weeks. But it has not been available in English until this week. Where you can download an English a pack that will, A, translate her Japanese into English in text, and B, allow it to understand English that you speak to it. Up until this point, it's been Japanese only. So it would understand konnichiwa, but not hello. And so now you can actually interact with Megumin.
I wonder if this would help with your Japanese.
It might, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's kind of nice. You could test out your Japanese with it. You can fiddle around and see whether your pronunciation's right or whether things like what.
And you can program it to do, alerts and all this stuff.
Shake their head.
Ohio gozaimasu. Oh god.
Baka.
Nani?
Okay, hold on.
Oh god. Here we go.
Konnichiwa. What did you say? I couldn't see.
I was gonna say somebody's desk odd. She asked you a question.
Let me see. Does it have like a? No, it doesn't have a menu of past things.
See, here's where we need Kira to come in and tell us what the heck she's saying. Kira, are you out there?
I'm going to sleep. So I just told her I'm going to sleep.
And she goes to sleep.
And now
she's awake.
And I've now woken up.
Interesting.
Dismiss. So yeah, this is a thing that exists.
It's funky.
But so the news story this week is that besides the English language, they now have events. So she's going to be in a bathing suit because why wouldn't you want that?
Of course.
So they've got this thing with... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Here we go. Now that's gonna get banned in Australia. Great.
If it hasn't already. So let's see here. It's Sky event. There are limited edition conversations in the summer. So Megumin will now respond to phrases like summer and watermelon. And there are other limited edition conversations that you have to find on your own. Yeah. And
Should respond to summer and watermelon? What the hell kind of conversation is that? If you say watermelon, then she dances. Oh, okay. There you go.
Now, it should be pointed out, the swimwear is not free. Why are we surprised? It is
microtransactions, hooray!
Oh yes, it is 860 yen for the swimwear outfit. Uniform, not outfit. And then
so almost $10 for an outfit.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Well, the English pack was I think $6. To get the
but the English pack, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Versus that took work. Just putting her in a different outfit for $10.
But it's a swimwear outfit.
I don't care if it's a Kuma Bear outfit for $10. Screw that. That's highway robbery right there.
Mm-hmm. Wait until you see her. Well, wait until Rem shows up.
Don't say that. Because then I'm going to spend that $10. It's terrible.
Well, this is the other interesting thing. Go ahead.
Yep. I can't imagine. It's neat. It's a cute kind of concept, but I'm not sure the longevity of that. It's like the novelty of it is going to really burn out pretty quickly. Having her as an alarm, that's kind of that's okay. Mm-hmm. That's a funky thing.
Oh dear.
It's certainly cute, but again, it's like the novelty of just seeing that all the time. It's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there are a lot of outfits.
I can buy a lot of cheeseburgers for $10.
So you can get Megumin in pajamas, a birthday dress, a Valentine's Day apron, school uniform.
Oh wait a minute! No! Hold on, apron?
Yes.
I'm assuming that's an inference to the.
Just an apron.
I don't know if they don't say specifically.
I'm loading it right now. I'm loading it right now, so we can verify. Oh yeah, it's.
Okay.
So it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's pretty reasonable.
I have to say, every anime ever has told me that apron is a special type of thing.
So yeah, you can get all those things, and they range in price for those curious from about $5.50 to about $8. The birthday dress is pretty cute. Why does she have an eye patch?
She always has an eye patch.
She doesn't in some of these other things. So I gotta admit, birthday dress, she looks awesome. That's very nice.
Kind of a cool gothy thing going on there.
Goth Lily thing.
That reminds me of Rory Mercury from Gate.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean? The black and red.
Yeah, but no eye patch there.
Oh, that's weird, because usually she has the eye patch with the cross on it.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Oh my god.
Imagine hearing that at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
What's your alarm?
Oh, God, the monster kill me.
Or you're at work and it suddenly goes, oh, lunch. And everyone's just like,
are you ready for lunch?
Is your phone speaking Japanese and laughing? Yes, it is. It's a special phone. Go away.
Exactly. Yes.
I wonder how much this is going to generate.
Oh, a fair amount. Let's be honest.
I'd love to see what the stats are on this. Like how many people are just going to keep throwing ridiculous amounts of money at this to get the party outfit, to get the da 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 da. You know what I mean? It's like, so you're going to have somebody who's going to be a hikikomori that's sitting at home, and they're going to get the app and then spend $5,000 on every outfit that possibly Megumin could wear.
Look at Fortnite. Every in-app purchase on Fortnite has nothing to do with game performance, and they make money hand over fist in that game.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
And there's the effect that booze has, much like on iTunes.
True. Yes.
3 a.m. in the morning.
I want all of your things.
Happy birthday!
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Drunk purchasing.
that's why the age of the internet is so glorious for e-commerce. Is the fact that people can sit at home plowing out of their minds and start buying things randomly on Amazon and other various sites across the planet.
Mm-hmm. It's fascinating to me
Special
though.
moment when you open up the box and you go, "Oh, wait, what?"
Oh, really?
Weird.
So, Steve, you just totally forego the reading the confirmation email the next morning, going, "What the hell did I order?"
I'll probably be so. It will probably
That's
be like
the
this.
one that usually
No,
gets me. Is like, what the hell did I do that for?
No, this will probably be like, oh, it hurts too much. Okay, I'll look at it later.
Can I still cancel the 27 pack of fuel cubes for a stove camping that I don't have? I gotta hit the cancel button. What the hell's happening?
It seemed like such a good idea at the time.
$40,000 REM statue with a parasol. Cancel. Just cancel. Why did my credit
I
card
would love to see
transaction?
them. I would love to see the delivery man bring that up.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, she has
8-foot crate.
Have my neighbors go, just like look out the door, just go. So that's what you're about.
Exactly.
She has to be in a wooden crate. I mean, there's no way
yeah.
in hell you'd put her in a heavy cardboard with popcorn. She's got to be boxed in a heavy wooden crate. There's just no other way.
Oh yeah, no, they said that.
Well,
like
imagine,
a parasol.
That almost makes it worse if you were to open it up and your door was open and your neighbor walks by and you pull the crate off and the packaging comes out and the first thing you see is like a humanoid figure. You're like, wait, what?
Legs, just legs sticking up.
Just legs, right?
Yeah, sticking out of popcorn, a little pair of sandals and feet.
You just turn around, just try experiments.
It's a Japanese girl. Wait, no, wait, that doesn't make it better.
You see, and this is where I'm sure people in the chat box, and there's probably somebody out there right now who's thinking the same thought I am, that you turn to your neighbor and you go, mail order bride? just see how your neighbor just goes, oh, I gotta go.
I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now.
That would be funny as hell, though.
It would. I wonder how many life-size anime characters have been made. Obviously not for, public consumption.
Wow.
But I've seen that kind of thing around. This store has, they made up, maybe they took a mannequin or something and, made it look like this character. I wonder.
I was going to say, I know, remember the Warner Brothers stores?
Oh, yeah.
That had the big Bugs Bunnies, Daffy Ducks, Pig, Porky Pig, and all the rest of them. So it's like, that was at least a run for a chain of stores, so that the molds were, worth the time and effort to create. It's like, I would imagine that if there were SAO stores, 300, 400 SAO stores, you probably would have, I don't know, maybe REM would be like $500 or $600 because they would run so many of them that the mold would be practical.
No.
There are a lot.
For that specific kind of thing, I would think it would be very expensive to have humanoid figures.
I'm surprised. I'm Googling it now, and there are a lot. Now, there was a whole... so there's a Tolovru figurine, there's a Miku.
Is it Lala?
It is... one second.
Momo, Nana.
Maybe it's not Tolovru. 1 second.
Can you tell I know a lot about Tolovru?
Lala. It's Lala.
Aha!
Yeah.
Lala, the princess of Devil Luke. Yes. I see. And where is this available? Later.
There's another REM.
Another REM?
Yep. Actually, both of them. REM and apologies.
Ram?
REM and RAM. 149, 154 centimeters tall, and they made uniforms. Rem's got a broom. These can't be life size. 1 second.
I was gonna say the Figma figures are like $85, $90 just a shot by themselves. So it's, I mean, a full size figure I think would be
actually,
still like $1,000.
Oh yeah, and these are
more than 1,000.
Yeah, these are not for sale. These are like made for an exhibition. Ayase for my little sister. Kana from Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. Even some. Even the one of the girls from Nanon Biori, the little pigtail girl. They have one of hers.
Renge?
I assume so. Yep, Renge.
Yeah, Renge.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's the thing.
Now that's the Renge and Kana-chan. That's a little creepy. You know what I mean? It's like I undisputably, hands down, they're both awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like I would feel funny about A, ordering it, and then B, anybody seeing it be like, oh, why'd you buy the little tiny girl?
Yeah,
be like, sorry.
Yeah. And again, these are not for sale. They're just made for an event. But you could buy a Megumi Kato from Saikano.
Okay.
Full
How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They made 10 of them, and they were $25,000 a piece.
Oh, a bargain.
Yeah. Not too bad.
Why do they keep choosing Megumi? You have Eri Sawamura and the other girl, the dark-haired girl. I can't remember her name. Dang it. But you know what I mean? It's like you have other people than Megumi, and she's not that she's a bad character, but she's just not as energetically exciting as the other two characters. So it's
I mean, if you want a really fun character to have, hanging around, you could have a life-size Menma.
What? What, repeat that again, because
I'm sorry.
Blanked out for a split second, and there was nothing. Your mouth is moving, and nothing.
If you really,
I was gonna dub in there. I fought your grandfather for the last time. Now let's reflect you and fight the bear. Okay, cool.
If you really wanted to feel good, you could have a life-size Menma.
A life-size who?
Menma from Anohana.
Oh no.
Yeah,
no.
just live just in your house forever.
No.
Wow, boy, wouldn't that be just great to wake up to a cry every day?
Exactly. Yes.
Why don't I just get a Nagisa and Yushio figures to sit next to my bed so I can cry hysterically every time I get out of bed?
Ooh.
Yeah.
So there's this village in Japan called Nagaro. And it's the Village of Dolls.
Oh yes, yes. Heard of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's probably going to happen now that we know that all these life-size figurines are going to be out there, there's going to be some town somewhere where it's all going to be all these figurines.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of the dolls, there'll just be one big village,
village of figurines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That actually would probably
will pay a mission. Someone will
and that's what I was going to say. The Village of Dolls, because they're all handmade, they're all kind of slightly creepy. Well, not even slightly. They're really creepy. So if you had an entire village of high-end, really great quality, master crafted figures, that'd be awesome to see a schoolhouse, like an elementary grade schoolhouse that has Kana-chan and Renge. And then your middle school has some of the other figures in high school, and then like a technical college kind of thing. And that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I'd go just for the hell of it.
Yeah, take your photo with them. Well, that's the big thing with the anime tourism, right? So you'll go to a site that was featured in an anime series, and they'll have a life-size cardboard cutout of the characters there, so you can take their pictures with them. So I actually just came across an article which totally explains this. There is an exhibition called Wonder Festival, Wonderfest, which is an exhibition of anime, video game, and other 2D character models. So this is basically where, the exhibitors come out to show their stuff. And how do you showcase how amazing your figures are other than commissioning a life-size one to sit at your booth at Wonderfest? So that's where a lot of these come from, as essentially, there to prove
Wow.
the how amazing your company is. There's now this I would buy, although I could never afford it. They have the three goddesses from Oh My Goddess. As life size, Skuld, Beldandy, and Erd.
El Dandy.
In these beautiful flowing
wow.
dresses, and it's gorgeous. Because that's just
It's only
elegant.
$200 million.
Yeah, exactly. I actually want to see if I can find. So I found the image, but
Well,
I'm
the good
curious.
news is if you buy Belle Dandy, then you can also just like put some regular street clothes on her. It could be Love Hina.
There we go. Pretty much.
It's twice the value.
Yeah, it looks like these were just for Wonderfest. Double checking.
Where did
now.
they go
Oh,
then?
cool.
I'm
Life
just
size
thinking
Don
someone
Bell.
should make a Toy Story type of movie based on these things. Once they're retired,
Yeah.
their happens to them.
There was a Star Trek. God, sorry, Twilight Zone episode of a lady that goes into a department store.
Oh, right. Remember that? Yes.
Yeah, it's a life of mannequins. It's I don't know whether it was early Twilight Zone or latter in the run of the Twilight Zone series, but a woman goes into a department store to buy. I think she was like buying gloves, and like people are just kind of very oddly reacting to her, and then like they suggest that she go to the top floor to like do her glove exchange, and she goes up, and the top floor is like a completely unused like sort of like storagey kind of area, a lot of covered displays and everything else, and a lot of covered mannequins. And she can't get the elevator back down, and she hears voices. She hears talking, like, where have you been? What have you been doing? And you eventually, it's not a spoiler because that Twilight Zone was released like 50 years ago, so there you go. It's out there already. You find out it's the store mannequins. They are alive for a period of time, and they select one of their own by rotation to go out and to live like people. And at the end of your rotation, you're supposed to return. And she tarried too long. And so they had to get her back in there to allow someone else to go out to share in the experience.
Yeah.
It was a freaky episode, a neat concept, and it was a freaking episode.
If you want an amazing sort of mini lesson on writing, I hope it's still available on YouTube. Rod Serling actually recorded a bunch of sessions of him sitting down with the students in a writing class that he taught.
Oh, wow.
And and he basically sits down and has them asking him questions about writing, about television and so forth, and his approach and so forth. And he explains what he did and all that. And it's all black and white, obviously. And this is after Twilight Zone, before what was the next one he did? The painting theme one, I forget.
Dark Portrait. No, Portrait. No, what is it? Dark Gallery? Is it Dark
something
Gallery?
like this. Yeah, something gallery. Rod
Yeah.
Serling.
Need to check that out.
Yeah, it's Night Gallery. Night Gallery.
Night Gallery.
Gallery.
I see. I got the gallery part, right?
Exactly, yes. He tells a great story, which I won't spoil here, about censorship, actually, about what happens when a sponsor comes and asks you to change something in a script. Yeah, how do you respond? And he talks about his approach to that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when Pizza Hut comes up when you're making Steins Gate and says, we really want the Pizza Hut thing, Dr. Pepper says, yeah, we're all on board with that. Aha!
So, I will spoil it. So basically, he says, I've been fortunate that it's only happened to me once. And the one time it happened, I was doing a script where the story opens on a ship, modern times, and there's a captain up on like the bow of the ship, looking out, and his first mate comes up with a mug of tea, and they're British, And so he comes up with tea and offers him a cuppa, and they drink as they're having their conversation about, you know, whatever it is that sets up the plot of the episode. And
Does that look like an iceberg, sir? No, I don't think so. I'm jolly fine.
Exactly.
This boat's unsinkable. No, good lord, no.
And a tea company was one of the sponsors, and a coffee company was one of the sponsors, and contacted him and said, could you make this coffee instead? And he said, and I sat back, and he said, initial response was, of course not. And he said, then I thought about it, and I thought, okay, you know, how do I approach this kind of from a broader perspective? First off, is it being tea or coffee important to the plot? No. Okay. Being British, is it reasonable for them to have tea? Yes. Being British, is it unreasonable for them to have coffee? No. Okay. And he kind of went through all these various things, and he said, on balance, I wrote tea because they needed to have something in their hands while they're having this conversation. It did not matter one way or the other whether it was tea or coffee. So I went back and said, sure, we'll make it coffee. And they said, awesome, thank you so much. We'll never ask for anything again, and they never did. And so he said, you always have to ask yourself, is this being asked because for an unreasonable reason? Or, you know, is this something that can work into the story or that doesn't matter to the story, right? If you're walking by and there's a Coke sign in the background, so what, right? But if they're coming in to say, you know, they have to have a Coke can with the logo on its side pointing at the camera the entire, right? Like, that's a very different thing.
Well, he was in the pockets of Big T anyway.
Clearly.
The Tetley boys were outside with truncheons ready for him.
Well, that's one of the things he said. He said, I've heard all these horror stories about, you know, companies just really strong-arming him. He said, I just honestly haven't had that problem. He said, so, you know, probably if I had that happen to me, I'd have a very different opinion about it, but I've just been lucky. So, you know, at least he was open about that.
Yeah, I would imagine terror at 20,000 feet. TWA was not like chomping at the bit to have Bill Shatner fighting a gremlin on the wing. I'm pretty sure they were like, no, we don't really want that.
Mm-hmm.
Am, do you guys want to buy onto this? No.
Am
has no gremlin
yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pan Am has never had a gremlin problem. Pan Am will never have a gremlin problem. Any stories are a gross misrepresentation of this company.
Exactly. What? Cool. I think that covers it pretty darn well. But I have a question for you all. A very important question.
What did we learn?
What did we learn on the show tonight?
What did we learn on the show tonight, Brad?
What did you all learn tonight?
Censorship is alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
It crosses international borders and is going to unfortunately end up creating more piracy than it stops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you're going to the content that's being sought to be removed is going to filter its way into other channels. And the more you do that, the more you're going to have far more objectionable content trickle to the surface when people run across that as they're looking for what was, you know, not really that objectionable.
And it really ticks me off. Really not happy about it.
Yeah. I hear that.
And we've also learned today that you can buy anything if you want it bad enough.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a very nice scarf that may or may not be made in China.
I think we know it is, Steve. I think we know it is.
Oh, come on, give him a benefit of the doubt. No.
And you know, this is one of those things that you will see an active debate on in other forums and formats where the presumption that because it's made in China it's crap. No.
Right.
It's
No,
like
that's
anything
fair.
in the world. You can have great product made somewhere, and you can have crap product made somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter. It's just a matter of like what manufacturers that you are going to get that product. If you're going to cheap it, you're going to get crap. If you're going to go to a good manufacturer, you can find good manufacturers all across the globe. You just have to pay the money to get the good product. So, you know, it can be Chinese.
Paying good money for possibly Chinese product sold through Japan, and now being able to buy it's kind of a girlfriend, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Like a digital phone, you can have a digital phone girl, or at the very least, you can have a very enticing alarm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
for
get
you,
her in the
and we're
little holographic pod thing?
That's the question. That's the question.
Getting Megaman in the holographic pod would be very, very cool.
But on a more enjoyable note, we have learned that we can get more and better songs out there on many.
Hell yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which, to me, if nothing else, that is kind of the happiest thing, that there is sufficient demand for this stuff to get released officially widely around the world. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what if Sunrise has a complete catalog? So rather than just like firing it off and be like, hey, whatever guys, here you go. I would love to see an actual catalog list, because I'm sure there's a lot of songs I've heard that I can't remember the series.
Right.
So I would need to have the actual list of series, and then I could be like, oh yeah. Like there's some of the Sunrise, Love Live School Idol Sunrise. There's some of their songs I wouldn't actually mind getting, but for the love of me, I can't remember what some of them are.
Sure.
So it'd be great to like see the title of the show and then the songs from the show and be like, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Just for convenience, I'm sure I'm going through my anime list, and I can look up what the songs for the OP and the ending are, and just be nice to have a comprehensive catalog list of shows and their songs.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would actually be pretty awesome.
Yeah. I know the news articles have been listing at least like the albums, but not necessarily all the songs. So that would be definitely helpful to find out. So it's something we don't know, but hopefully we can.
Well, hopefully they're responsive to people's like, hooray! Can you give us this extra thing so we can just kind of have a clip? Appreciate that.
Well, and I suppose you could always. I mean, there will be some kind of field for that on the services, right? Like publisher.
Well, I know for some of the songs that I've gotten, at least iTunes US, sometimes you can find the song by the artist, but it doesn't reference where it came from. So some of the ones that I bought iTunes Japan, it'll say, the one like I was saying, God of High School, Contradiction. It on I couldn't find it iTunes USA, but in iTunes Japan, it said Contradiction Kosuke featuring Tyler somebody or other, God of High School soundtrack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you can kind of sort of cross-reference things in the search box by putting God of High School, and it'll bring something up, or you can put, if you know the artist, you can put it in there. But sometimes, at least in iTunes USA, you can't put in the show title. You have to know who sang the song or the title of the song.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to reference it. Otherwise, you plug in Decadence, and you won't find it. And it's like, so that would be nice if they have a good cross-referencing capability on this, where you can plug your show in, or you can plug the title of the song or the artist in, and then find it through that. So.
What's weird
We'll
is
see.
I can't find this on Amazon Music anywhere.
So it was all a lie.
It was all a lie. They tricked us.
Did you take the red pill or the blue one?
I took the green pill.
Oh God.
That explains it. That explains
There was a pill?
There was a pill. It was that rum tea.
Ah.
The rum tea done you again.
Good stuff.
Now, is that an induction heating element circle on the bottom of that, Brent?
This is an Ember mug. It's a smart mug, although I don't use any of the smart features. It comes with a saucer
Induction heater.
Yeah, you can put it on, and so this stays hot for an hour. The actual mug does.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it has the whole thing in there. So basically, you can just put something in there, and it just stays hot for a long time, which is very handy. If you get connected to the app, which I could never worked for me, you can actually set the temperature. So you can make it like super hot, not quite as hot, and adjust the temperature to whatever you'd like within a range, which is handy. If you're like, I want this boiling, or I want this just warm. You can do that.
So can you use the app to set it to Klingon blood wine?
Sadly, you
Is that an option?
Is that a thing?
Exactly.
Zap Tita to Klingon blood wine. Hell yeah!
Yeah, and they have like a thermos, so you can do that and all that fun stuff.
Wow.
But
Nice.
yeah, it's fun. I drink enough tea that it's useful for me. Cool. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here tonight. This has been a great conversation as always.
Thank you all.
Yes, appreciate having you all here. And yeah, I think that'll do it for us for tonight. So until next time, everyone, you know the drill. Watch more anime. Exactly.